We did everything right. We've made no mistakes.
Oh my God, you guys.
Hey.
It's the pre-flight checklist on trucks is its own little thing, and sometimes we are awake and alive enough that it just passes without our barely noticing that it's our pre-flight checklist. And then sometimes it's really good that we didn't try to fly the plane. Just for the sake of all of the passengers involved. So we're both at a bit of a low ebb, and we decided duly to make this a pretty high effort trucks because
Why are we doing it?
I mean, we're not really.
Yes, we'll see what happens. It'll be...
This is a ghost trucks for ghosts. All right, Butto.
No.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
All right, okay, Butto. Hey, Butto.
Hey.
You know a post that I saw on Tumblr?
Yes.
A person posted in response to a tweet about how a Democrat was going to give money to rebuild one of Trump's firebombed campaign headquarters that Trump had.
Yeah.
He said, "I never understood what cuck means until now."
I saw that tweet.
Is what they said. And I want to talk about the difference between a revolutionary and a realist.
Here comes Isaac, psychoanalyzing his political opponents.
I mean, I'm not really. So this is gonna be a politics trucks. And
Yes.
I mean, I want to say that I think that you have full permission to check out now because we think of this as a comfortable spot. You know, but, this,
Oh dear.
it's happening all around us, and it's almost over. We got to talk about it.
The national mood, as they
least
would
once.
say, is so low right now.
Yeah, you got the seasonal affective disorder. You got the like the hot muggy October thing going on, which is just gross as balls. And then you have what I can only describe as a nationally humiliating political situation afoot.
Yes.
And like the great trick that is being pulled by this nationally humiliating political situation is that nobody feels good. Nobody feels good about their choice. Nobody feels good about their choices. Nobody feels good about our system or what we're projecting out into the world.
Nobody's even getting their druthers, man.
And Trump seems to be bent on making this more intense. It seems to be banking on just grossing people out to the extent that they can't be bothered to participate.
Damn.
But moments of
I
triumph
couldn't
like
see.
that, we just made America great again, I think.
I accidentally turned on my right indicator while holding the engine slower downer.
But anyway, so the most interesting part about the current situation to me is this.
Yes.
Is that there are a lot of people in the country that we live in who want to vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, isn't that a thing?
Isn't it? I mean, it should be like, if nothing else, it is a fact that we can no longer ignore and explain away. It's like other times, you know, if you were a Democrat and, you know, a lot of people are voting Republican, it's like, you know, okay, so, you know, you think they're being conned, or you think they're mistaken, or you think they're stupid, or you think they're inbred, or what the fuck have you. But,
Of course.
but in this case, we really have to contend with the idea that there are people who really just want to burn the whole thing down, and there's an awful lot of them. And we're in a situation where, because we live in a democracy, we have to represent that in our government somehow. We have to represent the will of the people who want to burn it down. And I think that it's untrue to our spirit if we don't in some way represent the people who want to burn it down.
Okay, but we have to be careful not to accuse all those who want aggressive reform to be desirous of burning it down.
I mean, I'm not saying they don't want to like build it back up again after they burn it down.
Sure.
Aggressive reform?
Well, it depends what position you're attempting to characterize, and all I'm trying to do is...
Yeah, no, be fair. Like, but I wasn't even saying that as if it was a necessarily negative thing, right?
Okay.
Revolution versus realist, revolution versus reformer, you know? There are a lot of people who are feeling revolution right now, or like, take my revolution. out there in the world.
Yeah, of course. There's definitely a revolutionary sentiment in the water, shall we say. I mean,
it's like in America famously is not a revolution-prone country. You know,
sure.
It was the saying that if America was going to have a revolution, they would have had it during the Great Depression, and we didn't. We just kept our head down and waited it out.
Yes.
Which is, to my mind, an admirable trait. But I also don't particularly want to get myself into this.
Yeah.
I just want to be like, hey, it's an interesting problem.
I think I think it should be said that there are super legitimate reasons why that would be the mood at the moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's causes for this, and I think whether or not you particularly, you don't have to be sign on with everything one of the loud factions are saying at the moment to be feeling it, you know. I think it feeds back into my recent and somewhat ongoing climate change depression. You know, there's a feeling that things are going to need to change more sooner or later.
Right. The feeling that things are not sustainable, and
yes,
a drastic shift needs to be made.
Or and whether or not we decide to make it, I think it'll come eventually on the grand cosmological scale.
Better the disaster we choose than the disaster that is forced upon us.
Of course, that is not the idea. You know, I'm not urging anybody that we need to support this or that.
I want to take a brief moment to say that even though we are going to apply the idea of hey, they're equivalently radical, wings in the country on both sides right now.
Of course,
I do not want to. I want to note that only one of those radical wings is the nominee of one of the two major parties.
Yeah,
and. Also, that fascism is bad and that Trump is a fascist.
Yes.
So
yes.
let's just lay it out there that we're
we're
not casting any false equivalencies.
You were doing a thing earlier, right? You were leading to the point where you're saying that the Trump people are this way, but we also need to look out for this on the left. Did I anticipate your structure correctly?
I absolutely was not talking about that at all, because I don't think there are anywhere near as many people who are ready to burn the whole thing down on the left as there are on the right at the moment.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that a lot of them are on my dash, I think that is a sampling error,
yes,
as it were, and that all of the furry communist revolutionaries who I follow on Tumblr, who are absolutely appalled at the idea that you might reach out and try to help somebody who is a racist, whose house burned down, what have you.
That's that's the hot button thing right now.
Yeah,
still,
and I find that point of view equally difficult to wrap my head around, to be honest. If only from a realpolitik perspective, for fuck's sake. If Trump's campaign headquarters burns down and you donate money to fix it, you're winning on every conceivable level. You are pissing off your opponents by being nice to them. You are preventing the further radicalization of both sides. You're disavowing the use of violence. You're presenting yourself as the reasonable party. There's basically no downside to it.
I guess the downside is the opportunity cost. You could have given that money to potentially worthier causes than rebuilding a Republican office, but
yeah, you could have bought yourself a piece of furniture, potentially.
Yeah, that's that. There it is. The dichotomy.
Let's not do the fucking zero sum bullshit.
I know. It had to be. Look.
Yeah.
I don't really want to put my mediocre white guy opinions out there on this one.
Oh. Well, that's it, everybody.
No, just to go back to the earlier point, despite my feeling that revolution approaches whether we want it or not, there is still a sense in which I mean it's still absolutely true that you can't just sign on with revolution in the abstract. You need to find a way to make it happen if you are so inclined, and I'm not getting anywhere, and you're not helping.
I'm sorry. You want let's head back to this idea of if the democracy is going to function, then there has to be a revolutionary streak in government, because there is a lot of people outside of government who are feeling revolutionary right at the moment and who feel like something needs to change. The fact that many of them think that things need to change in directions that are appalling.
Sure.
Is a problem, but it's not. I mean, the thing that people, I think, jump to is that, like, these people are wrong and that it's impossible to change their minds. I don't think that's true. I think that it is impossible to talk away their anger. It's impossible to explain away their views. But what it is possible to do is to take that and turn it into something that is not terrible.
Sure.
Because that anger is a motive force in a country which is hella moribund in a lot of ways. And rather than seeing it as like the terrifying rise of, American dictatorship, you could see it as a force to be handled and to be directed, possibly, if politicians are willing to be brave and smart about it.
Darn it.
And that's sort of what I'm after here, is like, they have to understand following this. Like, the political establishment has to understand that if they hadn't picked such a inept figure to be their, con man / Hitler, then it could have gone that way, and it could go the other way next time. It could go in any direction.
Yep.
It's all out of control.
Yep.
And you can try to clamp down on it by making the system less democratic and thereby ensuring that, this will isn't heard, but that'll just intensify it. And I think they're smart enough to know that they have to do something else.
Sure.
So that's what I want to see.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see some people trying very hard not to get overrun by their constituents in their mad, frantic dash to self-immolate, essentially. That'd be good.
Here's Isaac, psychoanalyzing his political opponents. It's my fault. I mean, I'm not acquitting myself particularly well in this conversation, but
Yes.
I just don't have a whole lot to say. All I feel on this subject is worry and
a vague inchoate stress.
Yes.
Oh man.
Can't
we do anything to deliver our?
I do my best.
From this?
I do my best. I read the stuff. I try to put the pieces together. I consider myself decently informed, but I don't know. I am unable to form a position that I feel comfortable taking on these subjects. I just find them unmanageable.
Is that because you don't want to diminish the opinions of the people whose views you're unsympathetic to?
Whose views I respect in many cases, but don't find entirely conforming with my own thinking. I think that there's a lot of difficulty in choosing which problems are the highest priority, and choosing what a government should be doing right now, and things of that nature. And certainly when it comes to an election like this, that's a whole other set of problems.
Yeah, nobody has asked asked anybody to decide that, at least on the national stage.
Of course. But I feel like if I were to really speak in a manner that I consider sufficiently valuable on this subject, I would like to at least have some idea of where, like, what direction I'd like to see things go.
So it's the fact that you genuinely can't see a way out. That's what's giving you struggles.
Yes, it's too depressing, and I know that is mostly on me.
Could be. Not everybody is obligated to have an opinion on everything.
Of course,
it's like and I think that we see the consequences of a system in which everybody is expected to have a political opinion at all times, which is like what a lot of Tumblr is.
Yeah.
That you have to either support or condemn, and you have to be in a rush to figure out whether you're supporting or condemning, because that is your primary social marker.
Yes.
And it has little or nothing to do with the details of the actual, issue under discussion. Mm-hmm. Do you not, sit and consider your ideal republic at all?
Sure, I do.
You know, because like that's the starting point.
Yeah.
And I think that we all have done that. We all have sat down and thought about, well, if I was in charge, you know, I would do this and this and this. And like
for me, those thoughts were accompanied by the immediate certainty that my decisions would lead to disaster.
Yeah, but I mean, they would.
Yeah.
I mean, and our system is set up the way it is to keep any one person from leading the discussion to too great an extent, you know.
And there's value in that, but it's also, my main feeling is that it's not equipped to handle every kind of problem. And
democracy.
Yes.
Liberal democracy is not equipped to handle every kind of problem.
Yes.
So you are looking for a strong leader.
I mean, no.
I wasn't going to just call you a Trumper.
No.
There, I'm just...
Obviously, I think you should vote for Hillary Clinton. But
we're having a discussion. This isn't about the election. This is about ideas and fear.
It's... whatever.
You know, yeah, you were saying, like, once again, this has got it. Here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that part of your unwillingness to have this discussion is because the tenor of the conversation surrounding politics at this point in time is so vicious that getting it wrong can result in a irrevocable loss of your social standing.
I mean,
and
yeah.
You know,
that is the reason we're not going to post this trucks. But I mean,
what?
Well,
I still thought we were posting this trucks.
I mean, if we post it, that'll be a funny joke.
All right. I didn't think we had failed that badly yet. But yeah, no, I think that I mean, I think that it is. I think that it is not going to help if we can't have these discussions. I mean, and that's a real stupid, obvious thing to say.
I mean, definitely, I'm willing to have the discussions. Having it in public is another thing. I mean, even bracketing the whole, I could be internet shamed, which I don't think we've I don't think we've
not
that badly.
Sufficiently famous to be internet shamed.
Yes, you know, when you're saying things in public, you don't say the same things you're saying in private, and that's not because you're ashamed of your private thoughts. It's just because you're expected to perform in public, and that prevents you from using the experimental material.
Didn't Hillary Clinton say this exact thing?
Did she?
Yeah, she did. She was talking. She'd been asked to explain like why she talked to bankers, you know, in these meetings one way, and why her email said one thing, and she was like, "It is a normal and legitimate thing to have one set of public opinions and one set of private opinions."
I've heard the headline. I didn't actually read up on
because
I usually do find that when I read what the evil Hillary said in those headlines, I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty reasonable. Thing to say.
When your audience includes foreign nations who want to undermine us, it is important to have a public and a private persona.
It's true.
You know, thankfully, I don't think there's anybody here who is the Putin to our United States of America. But yeah, no, I think that having these, I think that there is some benefit to having these discussions, and even though like our opinions are boring white guy opinions, by definition, despite our best efforts, I don't know. I've spent my entire life thinking thoughts. And talking about them.
Sure.
Surely that's worth something.
Sure.
And I mean, I found your political evolution interesting.
Oh no, he's gonna psychoanalyze me now.
Why is?
Go for it. Go for it. I want to hear it.
When I first met you, you didn't really care about this kind of thing.
I cared. I honestly, I think my position then was similar but less articulate than it is now.
So, like, I don't understand it well enough, therefore
I will never feel qualified to speak on it.
I see. Who is qualified to speak on it?
Fuck if I know.
See, that's
not the people in power, as we find, as Douglas Adams teaches us, right? But like
Douglas Adams sure as hell isn't qualified to speak on this. He was not a particularly insightful political.
No, but there's a good joke. There's a good joke that I refer back to.
It is a good joke.
That nobody who wants to be in power is qualified to be in power.
Yeah. which isn't untrue, I think.
Probably. Still a good joke.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have come around very much to the idea that Hillary Clinton should be in power, and part of that is because she cares enough to work incredibly hard to be in power.
She's definitely the most deserving person that has been shown to us the entire election cycle.
That is correct.
So
rather than sort of lackadaisically, skipping our way toward power because one feels that one deserves it, feeling that one needs to earn it and working to earn it is kind of a refreshing idea,
Yeah.
But that being said, I think that the only qualification to being able to talk about this stuff is to be well informed, and that in itself is a complicated challenge because you can spend your entire life consuming media about current events and still be woefully ill-informed, as we have discovered. But beyond that, I think it's just you have to be able to think critically and to be willing to change your mind, and to be willing to engage in discourse. I think you become deserving of the privilege to speak by being a good actor in discourse, and that is not being dogmatic, being receptive, being changing. And I, when we have political discussions privately, am guilty of not being that a lot of the time.
And this is the way that speaking publicly changes one's.
Yeah,
Go on.
Sometimes sometimes it's good to speak publicly because it makes you consider, even though people don't like to hear the waffling and the
Right. And our format is going to leave all of the waffling.
Yeah.
In this video.
I mean, but this is process.
Yeah.
Right. People don't want to hear the sort of people feel like it's sort of the politically correct argot of stopping and qualifying everything that you say, but sometimes that's necessary. It's necessary to be cautious and patient and to consider your words, and not to go for the easy slam dunk on the other guy in the conversation, despite how
I'm looking for a strong leader.
Tempting those dunks can. Well, I immediately shied away from the joke there because I understood.
You got close enough
that was a mistake.
To irrevocably affect the course of the conversation.
Really, it did?
Well, yes, of course. Conversations are fickle things, and every word you say changes their flow.
You're absolutely right. And this I think that I totally own that. It's like you saw the joke I was going for there. Yeah. And my not acknowledging that this issue is sensitive enough for you that going for the joke ain't the thing, set us back, and we had to spend the last 10 minutes deciding whether it was worth continuing. It's just fascinating how difficult this shit is and how important it is, right?
Yeah.
To be able to talk about the stuff that people really care about, and it's the stuff that affects people's lives, put it that way.
Sure.
It's I talk shit about stuff that people really care about all the time. I feel absolutely no compunction about it, but it's a separate category.
Yes, it's a little bit higher stakes.
Yeah. I think that it's, I hate nothing more than sitting at the dinner party that my dad's old hippie friends, they're all around the table and they're all saying the same thing. And the political discussion is just a series of confirmations of of what we already believed when we came in.
Right. That's pretty exhausting stuff.
It is exhausting stuff, and it's also just easy. It's too easy. That's the thing. I grew up in a super liberal household, and it's it really didn't occur to me until this election to be what are the consequences of living in a democratic system alongside people who you disagree with? Which just seems like such a fundamental question to ask, and the answer that I had growing up was always, well, they're wrong, and not only are they wrong, but they are oppressive, and they take away the freedom of people who I care about, and they think I'm going to hell. They want me and my friends to die,
Sure.
So fuck them.
Right.
By any means necessary. We can shut them up. We can put them in places where we don't have to see them because they're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just well, do you believe in democracy or don't you? At the end of the day. And like no is is like we have to allow that as a response because a lot of people in this country are sort of shying away from it. So we actually can't take that for granted.
Let me revisit a thing I was saying earlier. I believe in democracy, but I do believe that it's not currently rising to its challenges. How's that? I feel I've refined.
I feel like that's completely legitimate.
Yeah.
I mean, and frankly, if you'd said I don't believe in democracy, like I would push you on
It's
that.
raining. Sure.
But I mean, democracy has not acquitted itself well lately.
Right.
You know, I think there's ammunition. If you'd said, I think that we need to, you know, have a sort of Soviet-style centrally managed economy.
As close to the Soviet Union as possible, ideally.
I might have quibbled with that a little bit more strongly. But, you know, I think that when it's demonstrated that democracy is failing its obligations so deeply right now, like my core belief is always, well, we have allowed, you know, we've allowed money to corrupt it, you know.
Sure.
We don't have an educated populace, you know. We have allowed people's worst instincts to, you know, to rule them.
There's so many. You could go on all day.
Yeah, blah, 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 you know, and all of this, but that the idea is still sound underneath, and we don't have anything better.
Right.
And I still believe that, because because history demonstrates that, you know, you can pretty much have a wise ruler for one generation.
Sure.
You know, and it's better to swap them out more frequently than that. But
can I just stop and point out how beautiful Europe is being right now?
God, boy. I mean, we should point out that Europe is currently faring a little better, politically speaking.
Yeah. I think for me, I was happy to go to Europe to kind of momentarily pretend not to be in America.
Yeah.
But
it's all
all bad. It's dark and stormy nights here too.
This is what we're currently experiencing here. You know, we're, you know, and like I can, you know, trot out all the theories of why, you know, of why we're currently experiencing this moment, but it just is. It's bad. It's uncomfy. It makes everything harder to do.
Yeah.
You know, like
this very treks.
on the well, you know,
please, it has to be acknowledged.
This is not an easy treks, but like on the micro to the macro, living with this bullshit like does genuinely make it harder to live.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
you're in a poisonous atmosphere from the time that you get up to the time that you go to sleep.
Yep.
So, and that should be acknowledged. It's tiring, and we all have to do this work just to, like, you know, stay sane and courageous in the face of.
We have to do this work for like another 4.5 miles, 4.5 video game hours.
But we've barely scratched the surface. We haven't solved the problem yet. What is the ideal political community? No. What I want, what my dream is, you know.
Yeah.
Is for...
Why did I lower my gear so much? I just wanted to stop. Go on.
What my dream is for I don't even need the content of what our politics does to change. I just need the tone to change. I just need somebody...
You need to start participating in civil society, kids. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I need our leaders to speak to us like we're adults.
It's true. God damn it.
I need our leaders to speak to us like we're grown-ups.
God damn it.
This is just the first thing, you know?
Yes. Oh my God. It's even then, it's a hard problem to solve, right?
Right.
Because the incentive is there. You need to say the thing that'll get you elected.
And, like, you know, people... The word on the street was, you know, at least I can understand what Trump's saying. You know, I heard that.
No, that's like a legitimate political strategy, and
you know
that aspect of it. You know, speaking like a human being, a terrible fucking human being.
Right.
But
whoa.
That's one of the big things that's getting people so energized about him, and it's also one of the things that got people energized about Bernie Sanders. Like that, they're speaking fairly respectfully.
Yeah.
You know. and they seem like they're doing their best to explain what they think is the issue. in Donald Trump's case, those issues are, but like it's and when I read Hillary's like her things that she says, her private opinions, right?
Yeah.
Like there's juicy headlines in them, and definitely some stuff you can genuinely and like come at a perfect valid come at from a perfectly valid angle and quibble with, right?
Right.
But like it's refreshing regardless. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, I find myself agreeing with her more often than not in those things, and
Yeah.
But
it would be great if
if I didn't, it would be refreshing to hear her tell us how she really feels.
Right.
See
It's
what
the
I mean?
fucking, this is what we have to content ourselves with, is to believe that by signs and portents we can have some idea of who she is.
Sure.
Even though she is, for entirely legitimate reasons, completely unwilling to share that with us
Yes.
publicly. But if we can intuit the kind of person who she actually is, and then hope that the person who we imagine she might be is able to act freely as that person while in power. That's what we have to hope for.
Yeah.
And that's so tenuous.
Yes.
But it's like,
And they wonder why people aren't feeling inspired to go vote.
I genuinely think that person is in there.
Yeah.
And
I hope she's good. She seems like she could be.
Yeah, and like we're gonna, and in that discussion, I'm going to come up against people who's like, well, she's perfectly willing to bomb the shit out of brown and black people to serve America's interests.
Yeah.
And I will have to be like, yes.
I mean,
she is.
I feel horrible about that.
Nobody who is going to be able to win an election in America is not going to be willing to do that.
Maybe. Although, I mean, that may be true, but I do think it does have to be said, as the constituents in an electorate, that I sure would fucking love the opportunity to vote for someone who's anti-war.
Oh man.
I would jump if at the ability to make my voice heard on that issue in the system.
Well, there's not enough of you.
What? That's just not true. Bernie Sanders almost won. He got pretty closer than anybody thought he would. And I'm not saying he should have won. I'm not saying things would be better if he had won.
Yeah.
But there's a real force there.
I know.
And it might grow stronger by the next election.
When I said there's not enough of you, I meant there's not enough of you. There were not enough people, even among the Democrats, who are with you.
Fine.
And that
that
doesn't mean that there might not be more of you.
Of course, but I also think that the number of people who feel so strongly about the anti-war issue is not the only vector of approach on this one. Like, there's also a different candidate might have better energized the voters to feel strongly on that. It's all a weird card shuffle of history. Or
I genuinely think, and this is me psychoanalyzing my political opponents again.
Okay.
Or maybe not my political opponents. I actually haven't said where I stand on this one. I genuinely think that we are the majority of people want there to be America to intervene militarily on behalf of its interests.
Yeah, Obama said something I found really
despite
smart.
who said that. I mean, despite who was saying that and who was saying the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw this stupid Vox.com interview with him where they cut him up a lot and do all these stupid infographics. But Obama said something I thought was smart, which was that he wanted to soften the line between our defense budget and our foreign aid budget, make the military more of a helping hand, make it so you don't have to deploy soldiers to try to perform civilization building.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I wondered, if he made any progress on that since saying that. It was 2 years ago. And the answer is, I'm sure not. But,
No.
Maybe bureaucratic steps, these are the things that, if I were a journalist, I would like to look into what happened. He must have tried something if he said he was going to. Whether it got nowhere, I'd be interested to hear about it.
The thing that's the killer about that is that if he was doing that, it would have been in his best interest to do it without telling anybody that that's what he was doing.
I know.
You know, these are these are line items in huge bills that are getting lost.
Yeah.
You know, that's how like Oklahoma got mandatory state-sponsored pre-K basically because nobody read the bill.
Right.
You know, these are the kinds of things that we have to resort to at this point.
Yeah.
It's like feeding, it's like feeding the public a pill in applesauce, you know. But
and it's easy to hear Obama say that and think that's fucking terrifying, right? Like, you're gonna militarize our foreign aid apparatus, and it could be. It could be used for that if the legislation wasn't written.
But it
carefully.
is that it is the application of power,
right?
And you can't deny that that's what we do,
right?
And that it would be incredibly complicated and difficult and destabilizing to try to stop doing that.
It's the hardest question there is in the world right now,
you know, like,
because we need to stop. Like,
something
needs to happen.
We need to draw down, and what Russia is giving us a potential solution to that problem is like, hey, we'll do what we used to do.
Fuck, we'll be the heat sink.
And exactly, and we'll just take back some of that authority, and we can do what we used to do back in the day. And we're not happy about that as a concept, but it's like finding a way to do a drawdown that comes closer to a kind of global equity.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't think that. I think that's such an awesome problem, you know, and like it may be the thing that we need to do in order to do global warming, because nobody is willing to take their finger off the trigger now, because if they take their finger off the trigger, they're going to get shot by the people who don't, you know, in terms of their economic progress.
That's the problem. It's a nightmare. There's no way.
But it's like, but I think that, you know, it's not just like dunderheads who look at, you know, Bernie Sanders and say, I'm not sure if I trust him to be able to do the kind of drawdown of American power that the globe would need to not go all on fire, you know?
Right.
And so, not to mention that most people, I think, are pretty happy with us being the most powerful.
Yeah. And both its positives and its negatives. The status quo always feels like it's not going anywhere, and that the effort to make it go anywhere is.
And it's like, it's, you know, if there's one thing that doing these, if there's one thing that Sojo Kakume has to teach us, if there's one thing that like is true about people who are really ready for revolution, is that they are the most easily conned people. And that is like the current political situation underlines that in, you know, big, bold highlighting. But you feel there's something wrong and you need to do something.
Yeah.
You know, you need to do something. And the people who are the ones who would have the best chance of doing the correct thing are the people who have looked at the problem and concluded that there is very little that can be done.
It's not. It's there it is. the what's the word? That's the fucking mantra of liberal incrementalism.
Yeah. I mean, I will say,
Yeah.
I am a liberal incrementalist to the back of my fucking teeth.
Yes.
You know, and I am in a position where the system is not actively killing me or my family, and therefore I can say that, you know, without feeling the blood of my personal relatives on my hands.
Yes, very true. Very. Hey, man.
But I still believe that
you.
it's correct, that it's the only way forward, and that I think that revolution has tended to be a disaster.
Yeah.
Just in general.
What I think is, in the perfect world, that's true. I think that if you live in a vacuum tube of a society, which America might actually be, as you said, it's not very revolution prone, like a society whose process is just allowed to carry on until the end of time. I think the process we're in would eventually get us to the right place, but I genuinely feel that it's possible that, regardless of whether or not I actually think it should happen, I think I will see revolution in my lifetime.
Of one kind or another?
Yes.
Yeah. The issue with our process is that it runs on its own pace, and that it's possible that the pace of the world is not going to allow us to work out our process in time.
The process is starting to pick some grand existential fights, I think, and all processes must as they proceed. And that's entropy.
Entropy, man. And so it's like, when you look upon that and you see the sort of the line rising off the edge of the asymptote, at that point in the graph, I'm like, oh boy, that's not going to be fun.
It's a bit of a worry.
Yeah, you have to have faith in the kludge.
Yes, it's hard. The thing is,
that's basically it. You have to have faith in the idea that when things get really bad, we'll be like, oh shit.
Yes. It's just disheartening that we haven't agreed already that things are dire, that they're going to be dire, and that action needs to be taken as soon as possible.
It's not yet, though. It's not.
But
yet.
It will be.
It's not yet dire.
But it will.
It has to be dire before we can take action. That's how we do it.
But this
country is great in adversity. We are historically really great at putting up with terrible things.
Fine,
keeping our chin up.
Turn the planet into fucking Venus, why don't you? And see how we handle it. It's like, it has to be said that, yes, that's true, but in this particular scenario, it's a thing where the consequences of the actions are felt 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
And those, that's just the kind of problem that we haven't had to handle very often in American democracy, and not in that same way, right? Of course, every action has a consequence, and it all carries through the. You see what I'm trying to say? There are. If we were a smarter people, it would at least be an issue. We'd at least be beginning to talk about it. We wouldn't have the politicians insulting each other with their willingness to speak on it. Do you see?
I see. Of course, I see. I do indeed see. So I also just have a very,
That's not going to happen, is it? It might happen if we go over there.
I don't believe in Star Trek.
Star Trek doesn't make any sense.
I specifically, the part of Star Trek I don't believe in is that humanity is essentially capable of governing itself.
So you're with Herzog in the end, then?
I think that we are very good at surviving, and I think that we are very good at coming up with new and interesting ways to survive.
So maybe the thing is that government just plays an incidental role in our long-term survival. People will go live in their little caves underground. We'll forge our horrible virtual reality environment, and eventually factions will form. People will take power, and that'll all do what it does. But we'll get there one way or the other.
The reclamation of the surface will be an amazing project. I think that.
Of course. Mm-hmm. Of course, that was science fiction on purpose. if you're about to say that maybe not how things go.
No one can know. The systems are too large and too complicated. We have become more powerful than we can handle.
We are all called upon to be soothsayers of the future.
Yes, and a correction is oncoming. That is my 100% definitive opinion.
This may be the best visual, rather the best discussion to be accompanied by this visual yet.
Yeah. Oh boy, you keep not doing that.
It's being so picky.
Just 1 degree.
At least I didn't. It's an excavator, but I didn't have to
parts per million of carbon monoxide.
I didn't have to descend into a dirt pit,
There you go.
This looks good.
There you go. I want very much to know whether this was a satisfactory trucks. Please tell me.
I think it was good for us,
trucks.
but
it was excellent.
Whoa. Whoa. I did the thing where I kind of rode on two wheels for a bit, but it didn't cause any damage.
Yeah, no.
Wow.
Congratulations. We
At
did
last.
it.
We got there. We did it.
We had the tough trucks. We were both very tired. Came away with an excellent trucks.
I'm sure the comments will all agree.
Sorry, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.